I want to go through an exercise to visualize something. It's something we really know now that we are experiencing uh, a matrix like world. It is a dream world, it is constructing of something like data structures and abstractions. Now, we create a model of the real world in our mind. Okay, and then that's the sense in which we're in an imaginary world because we are like a doll in this model. That's us. And we see ourselves as within this model. Now, it doesn't mean it's disconnected from reality. Of course, it's connected to reality, um, depending on how you define the word reality. But we create this model based on our perceptions. We don't live in the middle of perceptions, we live in the middle of this model. When you pick up an object, and that object is tangible, the sensations of it on your fingertips and the light, the many patterns and patches of color that reach your eyes are just perceptions. The object itself, the sense that all these perceptions are tied together and explained by one thing, the object, that's something we create in our mind. Now, our models can only be as perfect as uh, we can make them based on our skills as model makers, as based on our motivation to make the model accurate. But the point is not to talk about how our model is imperfect. We know that. The point is to realize that where you visualize yourself now in this 3D space around you is in fact the dollhouse and not the real world. Okay. If you were looking at the real world, all you would see is patches of color. When you identify an object and you apply attributes to it, and you can be fooled. I could make a coffee cup, looks like a coffee cup. It's actually just part of the table, and it's fastened to the table. So you pick it up and see that it's not just a coffee cup. In your dollhouse, that will be a regular coffee cup. And you will assume you could pick it up and move it around and manipulate it like a coffee cup. It's important to picture the world this way as an exercise because while it may seem there's no difference to looking at things this way, it explains things that we experience a lot better. For example, if you look at an old tree stump and see the figure of an old lady, then how did that? We know the idea of the old lady is in your mind, and yet it's out there in that three-dimensional spot. You move this way and that, and it's right there in the three-dimensional location that the actual stump is. The stump, which we assume in this example we're getting sense information from. And yet there's this figure, which is a phantasmal image, and yet it's out there in that space. And that's because this whole world that we create is full of our ideas. So abstract things, ideas that are just dreams, ghosts, can be hiding behind a desk or a bed. How could something in your mind hide with something behind something in the real world? Because you're experiencing entirely something in your mind. You generate this model based on your sense perceptions, and then your ideas go and populate that model. For example, your idea of yourself, but all of your ideas potentially can populate that model. And that's why you can look at the sky and see a face in the clouds, or you can see emotions or see an object that feels like it's generating or radiating emotions. It's because you've created this model and then you populate it with things from your mind, including yourself. So the exercise is to picture that you are in this model, to realize the sense in which, while you're seeing something that is modeled to be very accurately correspond to the real world, You're using special effects in your own mind to do that.